one in the womb where they can say they shot two, they shoot a pregnant mom.
A giant wave of shad spawn going on.
Woo!
Everybody, what do y'all think about that intro? I really like that intro, man. Maybe because I did make it, but, you know, I'm kind of partial to it. You know what I mean? So, no, I'm just kidding, guys. I want to thank y'all for tuning in tonight with us. We got a really great show lined up with you. We got AJ McWhorter. He's going to be tuning in. That is the Hobie Bass Open Tournament Director. Also, he is a big fish catching machine. I mean, if y'all don't follow him on Facebook or Instagram, you need to. Him and Christine Fisher catch some monster bass. So we're going to have him on tonight to talk about, we're just going to talk fishing as well. We're going to be telling some fishing stories, but we're also going to be talking about the Hobie Open Series. And right now, a lot of the tournaments have been affected with the coronavirus and you know, doing in-person events and stuff like that. There's still the online events, but he's going to kind of talk about, you know, what's the future looking like for the Hobie Open Series this year, how they're going to take over, you know, and, you know, once this thing gets going, if they're, you know, how the reschedule is going to go or what. So we're going to pick his brain, see how that's going to go. But, oh, sorry. So I seen something there on the screen there. It kind of threw me off for a second. But anyways, we're going to be talking just several different things coming up. We're also going to be talking about the live events that's been going on. You know, you got Paddle and Fin. They've been doing some live stuff. You got 5 Live that Scott Butcher and them has been doing an amazing job with on, you know, covering some of these guys and doing like this, I guess kind of like a bracket. Now they're trying to figure out who's going to be the next guy to fill that last seed for the big event, I guess. So that's really been taking off. It's kind of like that MLF style fishing show, you know. I mean, there's been some big names in it, and we're going to talk a little bit with AJ on that and see, you know, if he's been following along with it and what he thinks about it. And you know, I'll kind of be discussing what I think about it too. I think it's a great thing. I'm gonna tell you right now, I think it's pretty awesome. And you know, it's new. It's you know, some bugs be worked out with it, but I think it's pretty cool. So, but before we get into all that, first off, I want to, Chris, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing all right.
How you been?
Pretty good.
Staying busy with work.
Yeah.
You gonna be a bum tomorrow, though, right?
Oh yeah.
We're gonna go hit the water and we're going to go out and do some, I don't know what we're going to do. We was talking about doing some catfishing, but I don't know what we're going to do. It just, you never know.
We really need to catch a bass and a catfish.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to do a multi-species
start
day.
out earlier in the day and then maybe work our way to catfish later on.
Yeah. Yeah. So
whenever.
We'll go catch some bait and then go flat. We've been getting on this flathead, this catfishing kick. That's what we used to do when we were younger. We used to catfish. So I've always bass fished as well, but that was kind of like we'd bass fish during the day and then we'd go catfish at night. So now we're kind of getting on this flathead kick. I took Alyssa out yesterday, and she has been dying. Now, you ain't seen it on my Facebook page. She's been dying to catch a catfish. I mean, we'll go bass fishing. Dad, I really want to catch a catfish. I'm like, we're bass fishing right now. She's like, well, I just really love to catch a catfish. So we went out yesterday, took them perch fishing, let them catch a perch, which was kind of funny because we had to break your worms down. She didn't understand that. She didn't want to accept the fact that we had to kill these worms to put them on a hook to catch perch, you know. But then when we caught the perch, then we had to hook them, you know, to catch a flathead. So it was a big learning curve for her yesterday when it comes to flathead fishing. So
I've got the wrong bait on this scene from Ron, but don't worry, Ron, I have the right bait set up tonight. I just didn't set it up on this scene.
I got you. All right, yeah. So anyway, Chris will get the right bait up on there. He's working on that right now. But
that's the one we're doing tonight.
Okay, yeah. So that RBT custom crankbaits we're going to be picking a random winner tonight to give away those 2 square bill crankbaits. Ron does a excellent job on his painting. I'm really happy with his baits. I mean, I've been throwing them for a little while now. I mean, you know, all baits get beat up and all that, but you know, for custom paints, some of the custom paint jobs look really great, but they don't hold up. I'm gonna tell you right now, his holds up. I can beat a dock with a crankbait. So they hold up pretty good. So, but I want to thank Ron from RBT Custom Crankbaits for helping with our giveaway tonight. Chris is going to pick a random winner later tonight, and then all we have to do is get your information to Ron, and then Ron will ship your baits out to you. So But anyways, make sure you stay tuned after we have AJ on so we can go ahead and pick a winner for that also. Also, what time we got before we get too far?
8:06.
8:06, okay. Also, before we get going, I want to thank our sponsors. Y'all can see them as they scroll through here. Guys, especially in this time right now where money's tight, things are not looking great for some companies. Some companies in this industry are struggling a little bit too, but for them to be still backing us and helping us out each month, I just really appreciate all the sponsors we have. But I want to start off and just thanking them one by one with Bonafide Kayaks, Missile Baits, Falcon Rods, Yak Attack, Bino Power, Native Watercraft, sorry, I had a brain fart there, and AccuCoal and Power Pole. Guys, they have been really great helping us out. Also looking at doing a big giveaway next week because we got the Yak Attack tournament coming up. We got the Yak Attack benefit tournament coming up. Chris, how many did you say it was on there right now? Like 65?
65 or something like that?
Yeah, so it's like 65 people on there right now signed up through the Tourney X site. So it's not as many people what it could be as usually. It's like 200.
Well, it's not as many people that had signed up on Facebook, so I guess everybody hasn't just registered through.
Yeah, they might not have registered through Tourney X
yet. They might be waiting or something.
Well, I know. Just like with Casey's events when I fished the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge Series, you're like all the way up till the last day. It's like 10 people in there, and all of a sudden, boom.
I went on that because I was afraid I was gonna lose the email with the code on it that was sent out.
Yeah, I just got mine done today. So
I done it today. Sent it.
Yeah, so I'm all registered now. We're looking forward to that. So if you haven't done that, if you haven't gotten registered for the Yak Attack tournament, make sure you go check your email. John Hipster sent out an email to all that's already registered. You got your code in there, so you don't have to pay when you sign up on Tourney X. So make sure you go ahead and get that. So also, let us know where you're listening from right now. Before we get going, let us know where you're listening from. We love seeing. After the show, I scroll through and I read the comments, and I love looking and seeing where everybody's listening from. I mean, we've had people from California, Texas, all over the place.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and it's just really cool to go back and look and see how far we're reaching out. We're just not here in Virginia, so it's just a pretty cool aspect to look at. So, but also another thing I'm gonna be touching base on pretty heavily all this month with Facebook, Instagram, is kayak safety, water safety. Let's just call it that, because I've been reading so many stories on Facebook, whether it's here in Virginia, where it's other states, people sharing of people going missing, going out boating, kayaking, whatever, missing, fall overboard, flip their kayak. I had an experience. It's very embarrassing. Don't get me wrong. I had an experience years ago in March where I ended up flipping my kayak over, and it was a beautiful day. It was like mid 60s, almost 70 degrees, and I ended up flipping my kayak. I had my life vest on, but I'm going to tell you right now, hypothermia is no joke. I mean, I got to a point where I could barely kick my legs. My dad was talking me through because he was there trying to push me. I mean, I was in fast water.
Yeah.
I couldn't do much. So once I got out, I got to warming up a little bit. But, I mean, it's no joke. The water temperature was still in the upper 40s. So I'm just telling you guys, it don't matter how strong of how strong of a swimmer you are, how much experience you have on the water, always put a life vest on. Now, I know, like, when I'm fishing out of a bass, but if I'm by myself, I always have my inflatable on my Mustang when I'm by myself. Anytime I run down the water, I put my life vest on. Anytime my kids are in the boat, they always have their life vest on. So just make sure, guys, you wear your life vest when you go out. It's always important when you go out, and make sure you come back to your family.
Wear it properly.
Wear it properly. Exactly. Zip it up. And I know a lot of people, there's so many nice life vests out there that you can get comfortable ones when you're out there fishing. Some people, oh, man, it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable when I fish. You got to spend a little bit of money, and you can get a nice life vest. Chris, you got a nice one. What was the one?
Bass Pro Shops, but
it's a kayak it's a kayak fishing life vest.
Yeah.
So, and it's a comfortable life vest. You've been out in it. So, yeah. You can go to Walmart and you can go buy a cheapo for $20-$30, and you're not going to enjoy fishing 8 hours a day in it. Or you can go spend you $150 to $200 and get you a really nice life vest that's made for kayaking, made for fishing in a kayak. And that way, if something does happen, we hope it don't, but it doesn't take much to flip one. I don't care how stable they are. Bonafide, Hobie, Native, all of them. They're all stable boats, but people do flip them. So, guys, just make sure you get your life vest on. Like I say, even if it's warm weather, all it takes is you to flip over and hit your head on a rock or the log or whatever. So, knock you out and you're done. So, anyways, what time we got, Chris?
8:11.
8:11. Let's go ahead and call AJ and get him on. Let's talk about the Hobie Open Series. Let's listen to that music.
Yeah, listen to that Skype music.
Might take him a second. He was eating dinner when we did a little test call there. So, oh, there we go. Love the Skype music. All right, we're getting him on. Chris is going to build the scene up here real quick. AJ, how you doing tonight, man?
Oh, doing good.
I appreciate you taking the time to call in, man, on this beautiful Sunday. I know we could be out there doing other things right now. Heck, you could be out there night fishing.
Oh, no, it didn't take long to talk to me about night fishing to know that I couldn't. It's like my least favorite way of fishing. I just do not do night fishing. But no, I actually just got back from a little trip to Dayton, Tennessee to see what they're doing on Chickamauga.
Oh, okay. I got you. How did that trip go? I mean, I've seen some nice pictures, so.
Yeah, it was a trip. We were actually looking at some land in Dayton, Tennessee, and so we kind of just got a day on the water and a couple, day and a half doing some other stuff in the area. And Saturday on Chickamauga in May is it's a big time, man. I mean, if you're not at the ramp by 11 o'clock, you might not have a place to park your rig. It was wide open. I mean, all across the country. It was beautiful this weekend. And I mean, people have been kind of cooped up and spring hasn't really, sprung full on everywhere. So you get a beautiful weekend. People were really out enjoying the water, fishing, boating, skiing, you name it. They were doing it. And the fishing, it's coming along. It's there's some things happening on Chickamauga and, we got treated a little bit this weekend.
Yeah. You're talking about the traffic. We went out on Smith Mountain yesterday, and it looked like the 4th of July. It was ridiculous. Like, I'm glad to see people out boating and enjoying family time and all that, but you always still got the crazies. Like, you go to I sent Chris a picture yesterday on Snapchat, and I'm like, man, the boat ramps are always the greatest show because you just get some crazy people trying to back this, or you get to watch, like, undersized vehicles trying to pull big boats out. So it's always an adventure when you go to the boat ramp. But, yeah, most definitely. It was a crazy time yesterday. Beautiful weather. I couldn't imagine out there today because it was even nicer today here, and I'm sure there was 10 times more people. So, but so let's talk about the Hobie Series, man. I mean, I know everything's kind of shut down with the COVID-19 stuff, and I mean, what does it look like for Hobie? Are y'all going to kind of carry this thing on out and reschedule and carry things out through the year, get into the fall and all that?
Yeah, it's been tough for every tournament organization in our sport, but also in every sport. I mean, things that we don't even think about, like, traveling, AAU basketball tournament, things like that. I mean, all of these things have just got their hands up, like, all right, what do we do now? And it's challenging. And so, I got a lot of respect for the people out there that were able to come up with something just on the fly to keep these anglers fishing and keep the community, just dialed in on what's going on. But as far as like the series that are, planned out and, have all these incentives and things, and deals with host communities, man, it's tough. And for the most part, everybody's been really respectful of like everybody having to do what they had to do, because the result is like, our hands are kind of tied. Like if a host community says, hey guys, like our state's not allowing what this event represents, we can't do anything about it. You can't just go somewhere else that weekend. You can't, there's a lot of deals and things in place on the higher national scale. And so it's just kind of wait and see. Now, my communities that are 2 months, 3 months out, we're talking to them and they're hopeful and excited, and we're already talking about ways that we could have this event if there are number restrictions in place. And that's the beauty of this sport, is we all have this opportunity to do things kind of away from each other. I mean, it's like kayak fishing. You go with your buddies, but you all often end up fishing different points on the cove. And kayak fishing tournaments is similar. It's like you can go through a whole tournament and never have to see anybody. And, that's kind of what this social distancing thing is all about. So the kayak sport, whether you're recreationally or just getting out there to fish, it really is accommodating to the restrictions and the things that we've dealt with nationwide.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely been a hit on, like I say, the fishing industry in a whole. But the silver lining around it though is like I know with our business with One Objective, and then you got you talk to some of these guys with the kayak shops and how well their business is doing. I mean, people are saying, well, I ain't got enough stuff. I'm gonna go kayak fishing, so they go buy a kayak and go buy several kayaks, take their family out. And I've talked to several dealers, and right now it's booming. And for some, I know some people can't go out and spend the money right now because some things are tight with their job and this and that being laid off. But it's kind of, I don't know. You don't want to. It's so touchy of a subject to really talk about, saying it's great for some businesses and all that, because it is tough on some businesses, and like say the tournament side, because there's a lot of money there too on the tournament side that some of these sponsors are kind of losing out, on money that they've put in or whatever. But so kind of seeing how they're doing a lot of these live events, I know that, that's not probably something, I don't know if y'all have talked about it. I know it's probably not something y'all want to get into right now because it's already so many people doing it right now. But, I mean, are y'all going to have to reschedule, let's say like a championship event, are y'all going to try to reschedule that for a little bit later date, or y'all going to just kind of go off base points depending on how things go the rest of this year,
So, I mean, as of now, everything on our schedule is still as planned until we're told that we can't do that. So, we're working with each community and they're like, hey, this is the date that we need to either say 100% yes, 100% no, and people can plan accordingly. And we did it about 4 weeks out from the Lake Erie event. But then, we're going to do the same thing for Kentucky Lake. So we're going to give 4 to 5 weeks. I think our date's May 15th, and we're going to get a call back from the Kentucky Emergency Services, and they're the ones who get to essentially decide if the 7th annual Hobie Bass Open Series has to get rescheduled. And that's another challenging aspect all on its own. You got a host community that has been booked out for 2 years for events, whether it's this tournament, that tournament, a wedding, a bike race, whatever it is. I mean, we leave town and that community brings a whole other group of people in to enjoy the amenities, the water, the for Kentucky Lake, land between the lakes, all of those things out there. And so this is a weekly thing for these host communities, and there might not be a date later in the year that we all can agree on. It might be the same date as one of our other events that's a go, or it might be the week before this other national event, and we just don't want to put that kind of strain on the anglers. And so it's really tough rescheduling an event, whether it's because of COVID or whether because it's something else out of your hands, is one of the most challenging things when you're an organizer, and there's never a right answer. There's always going to be people that get screwed out of vacation days. There's always going to be people that can't go to the new date. And it's just tough, and just really fortunately, our community is just really understanding of this, and not just the kayak community, but like the nation as a whole seems to be, just dealing and things not getting too crazy out of control. And it is frustrating, and we're all just trying to, get to that next event, wherever it is. It's been driving us crazy, the guys, myself and the guys back at Hobie that are working on this event. It's like, what can we do? Looking at next year opportunities, looking at later this year opportunities. We're going to try to find a new date and potentially venue for the Erie event, but we haven't been able to get anywhere close on that as of now. But we've got one kind of time frame in our schedule where it could work, and it'd be nice if we could get to that point. But if we have to cancel one event out of our 9, there's still plenty of opportunities through the season, especially later in the year, for an angler to try to get their 3 in to be in the top 20 for our Angler of the Year program, and the new qualify opportunities for the Tournament of Champions. We've got a big release coming out on the Tournament of Champions, hopefully early this week, that's going to really dive into our location, and got some great interviews from our local anglers there about the waters for people nationally that aren't super familiar with the headwaters of the Tennessee River in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's a really cool culmination of two different rivers there that creates one of the most storied rivers in bass fishing, and it's got amazing genetics, amazing lakes, and it's going to be a fun showcase of that if everything gets to shake out the way we hope.
Oh man, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing how that goes, and I know for me and James, that's what we took off this year for the tournament series. Well, luckily, I think we did it at a good time. We weren't gonna fish no tournaments this year, except for like the Yak Attack benefit tournament. But that's the Hobie Series is one that's on our radar that we want to fish, and it looks like it's so well run, it's so put together. And you got a team though, AJ. I mean, how many people that work with you or you guys work together to make all this happen?
So it's Kevin Nakata is a staff at Hobie. He does a few different jobs in our fishing department, and they send him out. And him and I are kind of the main directors, and we bring in one of the local sales reps, or hopefully a regional fishing team member that maybe doesn't fish bass tournaments or whatever they do. And so we pretty much have 1 to 2 other people there as kind of volunteers, and then we have somebody with a camera, and then I've got a couple guys that are kind of above Kevin at Hobie that when something comes up, we have our little panel and we discuss. And then I've got a guy, just started using him with Fork. His name's Ben Meredith out of Tennessee. He's been helping me judge, and he's been a huge help. I mean, we went to Lake Norman in March before this thing really shut us all down, and the fishing was on fire. I think it was like 1,300 fish in 2 days, 1,200. I mean, it was a lot, and it was all day for both of us getting all those fish submitted. And this year has gone smoother in that aspect to have his help. It's been great to have a little more addition to our team, because as anybody's run a tournament, we all want to have larger numbers creates larger jobs, and sometimes to make sure you're doing all the jobs as good as you can, you got to kind of delegate some stuff out and bring in some helpers, and having somebody that's willing to sacrifice a whole weekend from getting on the water to judge fish in a tournament they're not even a part of is an ultimate sacrifice. And really appreciate him and all the other members of our team.
Yeah, for sure. And like I say, it takes, I know just with the little club stuff I did, it took a team of us to make things kind of work, and to go to a level that like you guys have, I just couldn't imagine. It does. It takes a good team and some dedicated people. Now, kind of talking about, because we've never had you on, AJ, and I know a lot of guys that are watching know you and know the series really well, but we also get a lot of new people on here as well that kind of just getting into the kayaking side of things. But talk a little bit about yourself. What got you started into wanting to be a director for the Hobie Series? Because I know, like, you're a heck of a fisherman, man. You catch some big fish for sure. And I mean, I think as a tournament angler, you kind of sit there and you're like, man, I wished I was out there fishing this event. So what kind of got you into wanting to run this thing instead of just, hey, I'm going to get somebody else to run it. I just want to fish it.
Man, it started probably, I guess it's been 8 years ago now, maybe 7. You get lost track of time, but there was a few of us, maybe 12, 15 guys, and we were floating a creek in central Kentucky called Elkhorn Creek. And it's really where that and the New River is kind of where I cut my teeth kayak fishing. And, one of the local shops there, just full circle. So people that are following know, Drew Gregory had just got river bassing rolling, and maybe 2 years in, and Canoe Kentucky was a great kayak shop, is a great kayak shop in central Kentucky. And, they were a Jackson dealer, so they were on one of the stops of river bassing. And I didn't actually get to fish that stop that they came and fished that radius tournament style that they did for so many years. But the shop there was like, hey, let's keep running tournaments. And, 12, 15 of us showed up 2 Tuesday nights a month and 1 Saturday. And that was pretty much all of our real intro to kayak fishing tournaments. And I mean, we're still trying to figure this thing out. Imagine how it was like 7 years ago, and we all just kind of had ideas, and we were sharing them with each other, and we were like, man, let's do this bigger. Let's involve the state. Let's get people involved and grow this thing and have a lot of fun with it. And that's kind of how it all started for me as being a director. And I guess my personality and other people's maybe lack of time at the time. Well, I don't know if I had a ton of free time back then either, but I'm kind of driven to do that. And I've been given opportunities through Hobie, and I haven't screwed up yet, I guess. And they keep giving me enough rope to hang myself. But it is a sacrifice, but it's worth it, man. Like, I get to fish a few tournaments a year. I'm probably going to get to fish more this year considering everything. But anybody who's ever directed a tournament, a lot of respect to those guys, because they sacrifice their time. And it's not just that time that day, it's way before that. And, it's just the desire to see, it's the desire and the passion to see this thing evolve and grow. There's going to be people changing the game well past when I'm directing the tournament. And, we're all putting our fingerprints on this sport as it's rolling, and it's just an opportunity. And I've had a lot of anglers, maybe because they fished with me and against me, want to be a part of this stuff, and they respect what I'm doing. And I appreciate the support, because, that's really what it's all about. The trust in me, the support, and I'm getting from our anglers to come out and fish these tournaments has always been amazing, from the local level all the way to the national level. It's just I really appreciate all that. I couldn't be able to do these tournaments for Hobie or even at the club without the anglers, and I that's the key component in this whole thing.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't see, and I'm not knocking any trail, because I think everybody tries their hardest, to make everything work right and try to make everybody happy, which y'all know you can't do it, but it seems like everything's just so well organized on the Hobie side. Like you guys have like researched and found the negatives and tried to not have that on your side, and make it just a great event. And like, I watch y'all's videos, and I've watched, Greg Blanchard fish a few of them, and just kind of watching these guys that have YouTube channels that fish them, and just how smooth and well operated everything is, and everybody looks like they're having a good time. Do you get a lot of guys that are new into kayak fishing, just starting out in those, or most of the guys that fish them kind of got an idea of what's going on?
When we first kind of raised the bar price point wise, and I tell people this all the time, like, we're just getting started with these $200 to $400 tournaments. Like, there's only been a few of those a year. And so we thought that when we started raising the price of these tournaments, it was going to kind of change the level of competition to a specific angler, one that's been around for a while, one that has fished at a different level for a few years. And really, the majority, yes, that's right. But every event that we've ever held has had first-time tournament anglers in it. It doesn't matter if it was a $80 event or a $250 event. We have held events that their very first kayak tournament was a Hobie event. And I think that just speaks volumes on the growth of the sport. And, areas that we've gone to, maybe not having an opportunity to host people in that area very well for the folks that can't travel as much or as far. We've been trying to go to places that haven't been frequented as much. And, I think we see it a little bit of a different group at that point, and always new people to our series. It's always an opportunity to kind of show them, what's different with us. And, I think maybe my time as a kayak angler and I've seen some really goods and some not so goods. And I've been a part of both of them as a director. I've got to learn from other people's mistakes as well as my own. And I really try hard to listen to the anglers when they're providing feedback on, different ways that we can, different ways that they want to compete, places they want to compete, where they think the dollar makes sense, and putting that into a program for the anglers is part of the whole combination. You can build it for them, but you also have to kind of let the anglers be a part of building it for them to want to to have the passion behind chasing it.
Yeah. Chris, you say we got a question?
Yeah, Lance wants to know what are the boat requirements for kayak tournaments.
So like he wants to know, like, I guess, can you have a John boat kind of deal? That's where I'm kind of taking it as.
Yeah, maybe he's looking for specifics on what you have to have on it or whatever.
Yeah.
Or something, or
so on the Hobie Open,
talking about
like if you can have a motor or whatever. If there's any requirements on that or something, maybe that's what you're talking about.
Okay, so yeah, Hobie's pedal or paddle only. We allow anglers to practice with a motor, but on competition days, it's human powered only. And it's from, you can use a kayak or a stand-up paddleboard. And those are the two options for our series. And if, we do allow, kind of some random, boats that maybe don't have a specific category, like a blue sky, because it's paddled or pedaled, it's going to be allowed. And if we're starting to get some really unique boats out there that don't have that classification specifically, or maybe they don't fit all of the molds. And if you have any questions about a specific boat, even before purchase, never hesitate to reach out to our board, and we would love to evaluate new options as they're coming, but also give you kind of that answer as how that particular product stands right now in our classification.
Yeah, and now to kind of clarify too, because the KBF there is funny a little bit, because like he's talking about you can use like a motor to practice in, but you still have to be in your kayak, right? There's no bass boat. You can't take a bass boat out and practice, right?
Right. So, starting the Monday before the event, you're essentially only allowed to practice in your illegal vessel, which would be one of those, your competition boat or another kayak or pedal board. Prior to that, though, if you wanted to, use a bass boat, you would be allowed to. But the week of the event, it's kayaks only.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I think because like for the national championship, we went in there, man, it was guys in bass boats practicing up to the last kind of deal, and it's like.
I have one. I know it varies from state to state, but do y'all require boats to have lights on them for any particular,
Like blast off, it's kind of
like blast off. It gets kind of dark at blast off.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much, we kind of go with that as far as like whatever the state requirement is, which as long as it's a certain time of the day, as far as the light goes, you have to have some sort of 360 light. We aren't super strict on exactly what light it needs to be, as long as it's legal within the state law that we're fishing in. And really, like you guys were touching on earlier, whether it's competition, pre-fishing, or just fun fishing, I mean, safety on the water is really important. We highly suggest that anglers, have a flag up and have a light on. As much as possible, we require our anglers to wear a PFD. So that is such an important part of our sport, no matter what day you're on the water. You need to be seen. Sometimes, the boat can blend in with the background, and these boats are coming in fast, or maybe they just don't have the right vantage point, or maybe they're just not paying attention. But we got to do as good as we can to be safe, and part of that is being seen and visible on the water, especially when you're on these big lakes and there's a ton of boats around.
Yeah, and just talk like he was talking about how these boats blend in with the background. I know just when I'm running bass boats and I've come up on other bass boats, totally my fault. And I mean, I apologize to the guy, like sit down and all of a sudden there he is. Like some of these boats blend in so well in the background, even as a bass boat, how big they are. Sometimes can be difficult to see at certain lights, at early morning or right before dark, So, yeah, like you said, the flags, at least an anchor light pole, and all that would, I say what you should have. But like say now, a lot of these states are kind of going to where if you're out on the water, you got to have your red and green and your backlight, So, but no, that's a good question. That's a real good question. So, but AJ, let's talk a little bit about y'all changed the rule up, and this is we're not going to get into why or none of that stuff, but just kind of talking some people that are still looking to get into the Hobie Open Series. Y'all changed the rule up. You can only use catch boards going further on into the series. Now, they're coming out with their new plastic board. Are y'all going to allow that, or is it just going to be still the metal catch board?
I think that, we'll look at it, but I told Duke in these discussions, and Duke's been selling a product for a few years, and in order to sell product, people are going to compare it to the other product, and there's very distinct characteristics and things that one board can do and the other can't do. Well, part of those characteristics are because of the materials. And I told him, I was like, man, it's like a plastic board in this series is not going to work anymore. And I was like, I'll look at the new one, but I have no reason to all of these reasons why we're going to make this switch to a board that has zero flex. I don't want to look at another plastic board.
Yeah.
And he completely understood. And, I think anybody, just assuming the next product out is going to be adequate and is going to be ready to go out the gate, should just take a step back. I mean, we've seen a ton of products come out in this sport, whether it was an app or whether it was a different board, where it didn't really work the way that we hoped it would. And so, take a step out, take some time, test the product, try it out. I think the whole design behind that board was great. And, they really needed a board for ice fishing tournaments. And that's really how the whole thing came about. And so it'll be interesting to see what it is and how it works. I know he's going to send our directors one to test it out. And I think that's what it really needs. And, I've been, like I said, we made that switch between Fork and Norman. Norman had 116 anglers and, over 1,200 fish. And, we had probably as few issues judging in that tournament than maybe that we've ever had. And so, I think that anglers are adapting to all of the rules, whether it be the rule change that we made in the Hobie Series or whether the rules that changed in the Bass event or the KBF events, because everybody kind of had to apply something for that situation that we'd never really come into contact with before. So everybody seems to understand how important that is to really understand that part of the game, and we took the extreme route, but in our opinion, our directors board, we decided that was really the only solution to a board that has been problematic from the jump. And, we have seen so many issues with that board. And, because it was the board, we've just continued to make amendments to rules that, but still allow it. And, I was like, I've been a part of another issue with this board before, and I don't think that even doing all of these things that we do in our events with the rules and the board checks, even more issues can come. So let's get rid of the board. Let's stiffen up what's the most important part of our sport, and let's make this thing as good as we can until there's new technology or different products to help us improve it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that was a good – when everything went down and I was talking with James, I was like, man, I think every tournament series needs to go to catchboard. It's a whole lot harder to get out there and get cheating, whether it be a bend in the board, whether it be cutting a board and gluing it together, or, all these things that we've seen in the past. And it just seemed like the right thing to go with that board and kind of solve, a lot of other rules that you had to have with that board, So, but with that board, you hear from other tournament directors like glare issues and this and that. Is there anything that a guy that's just kind of getting into the fishing tournament side and has got a board, let's say a catch board, and is there anything they can do to help make that picture better, whether it be coloring in the lines or whatever? What is easier for you guys when it comes to judging?
I mean, for me personally, and anybody that's ever been to one of my captain's meetings knows that I will sit there and talk about this, is because there's nothing more frustrating when you're judging a tournament and an angler does all the hard stuff and you can't read their picture. Now, it's frustrating for me because I'm going to be the one that says, I can't give you what you think that fish is. I can only give you what I can see or judge. And sometimes that's nothing. Even though you see a fish that's somewhere between 12 and 24 inches on that board, it's really frustrating. But I think anglers, especially at these higher level tournaments, are getting better. Where the sun is, wet lenses, how far away your phone is from the board, where your hand is, where your identifier is, all of those things factor into a judge getting all of the right, boxes checked when they're looking at that fish picture. And, making sure that you look at your picture and look for all of the things that you have already done, make sure they're all there. Make sure you know how big that fish is not by what you saw, by what your picture says, before you release that fish. And, I think the sun is probably the biggest frustration in this whole component. Where the sun is can affect everything that we see. And, think about like when you're trying to take a picture and where the sun is, where you are, and how, lights everything up, where shadows are on the board. I mean, if you've got your shadow just over the bump, it makes it really difficult to see the fish's mouth on the bump because some of those boards are dark. That's a big reason why we put a white sticker on the end of the board, is to make sure that we're not having dark on dark with a dark fish's mouth going into that. We're trying to lighten up that area. We want things to be visible. We want to see everything that's going on there. As far as like doing adjustments to that specific board, I don't know if he's put it out in a video, but Jody Queen is probably the easiest to judge catch board I've ever seen. He's put a lot of time and effort into that board. He's scuffed it up, and taken a gloss off of it. He's put like black paint inside of the etching and then gel coated over top of that. So he's got black markings on a light green board, and it's like just not glossy. Yeah. He's put a lot of effort into it, but he's an artist and he understands, and he also understands the importance of what that board represents to him getting the proper score. And I think, that's a big part of our competition that gets overlooked, is the quality of picture of your phone and like the time it takes to just make sure your picture is good. Like you'll invest 3 hours the night before a tournament tying on different baits and respooling line and all this, but you won't take an extra 30 seconds to look at those 3 pictures you just took a picture of before you release your fish. Mm-hmm. And so, understanding that is a big part of our game and putting a little bit of time and effort into that is the difference of making sure your fish gets the proper score or not.
Yeah. And like I say, that you hit the nail right on the head when you're talking about putting so much time and effort in our baits, putting so much time and effort in our boats, but you'll save yourself so much time on the water instead of having to, say you take a couple pictures and you put the fish on the fish grip and put it in water. Oh man, these ain't right. If you get the board right, like he's talking about with Jody Queen, kind of getting that glare off of it, or just putting your time into making sure your board's right for pictures. And, even if you had to get up there and practice taking pictures, in different positions and figuring out how the best picture is. That's like Chris, he's just getting into the tournament side of things. We was talking about going out this weekend for the ACTAC tournament because he's never done a tournament, kayak tournament, and practicing taking pictures. just so he has an idea, putting the fish on, the mouth closed and this and that. It's so much, you can go out and practice, but also practice doing that and making sure, even before a tournament, you're out there practicing, you catch a fish, put it on the board, take a picture of it. Just make sure everything looks right, and you don't have to make no adjustments at the hotel for some stuff. But, yeah, I haven't seen Jody talk about that, but I remember somebody saying something about him putting some time on his board too. So, yeah, that's big. Now, is there any color particular? I know we was talking about the green that Jody uses. Is there any particular color that y'all really like that you don't have as many issues with?
So the green is actually one of kind of tough. The green one's been a little tough. Pink is really not ideal, and the black or graphite are about the worst. And all that said, I've had perfect photo submissions on all of those color boards. So I think it really does come down to the angler taking the extra time and effort to getting a good picture with that board. I also think that board requires cleaning a little bit more than maybe the hog trough. I mean, we have all seen hog troughs with like layers and flakes of like fish slime just coming off of them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really affect the ability to see the markings. Well, because the markings are raised on a hog trough, well, the markings on a catch board are engraved, and all of that stuff goes into those. And so what happens, like especially on the green one, is that ends up kind of being the same color as the board in a fish picture. And so you can't really even see the marking. So, that's one of the biggest things. Clean your board, make sure your board's in good shape. That thing is literally going to be the difference of you catching a check or not. So just put a little time into that tool as well, and put a little time into the picture process and the submission process, and make sure your fish count. And that's, angler responsibility is a word that we throw around a lot. But for the CPR system, it really, understand new people are in this game, but new people have a lot of resources now and people that are out there that can help them through it. I've had plenty of people come up to me before a tournament and show me a sample picture and say, I just want to make sure that I'm doing this right. Any tournament director would be more than happy to take the time before a tournament and go over that and look at pictures, as opposed to having that hard conversation Saturday or Sunday at 4:00 when one of those fish or all of your fish don't get to count. So never hesitate to reach out to a director. If it's not, if you don't know the director of the tournament you want to fish, reach out to another director. We're all in this to help our anglers grow and get better. And with that, the sport grows and gets better, collectively.
Nice. Yep. Exactly right. Before we go any further on our next topic, Chris, do we have any questions that come through? Any comments? No. Okay. All right. Everybody's just kind of chatting amongst themselves on the board there.
Oh yeah.
I got you. So, all right, guys, if you're just tuning in, we got AJ McWhorter on. My tongue got tongue-tied there, sorry. McWhorter on. And he's talking about the Hobie Open Series. But we're also going to jump into our next topic with we're just going to talk general bass fishing and catching fish and his favorite lakes. But if you're just tuning in, please share this. If you want to start a watch party, however you want. But like I say, we're going to be giving away some RBT custom crankbaits here at the end of our interview. So make sure you stay with us, and that way, because Chris is going to pick a random winner. So, but AJ, let's switch gears here. Kind of get into some bass fishing, the fun topic stuff, not the business stuff anymore. And you've been around to some great fisheries. I've seen you and Christine's pictures that y'all have caught some amazing fish. But where is one of your favorite places to go? All time when you like, man, I'm just going to pick up and go. Where would that be? Where would your favorite place to go bass fishing?
I've got two that I just immediately think of, and both of those places have some serious time. I mentioned earlier that, I kind of cut my teeth kayaking on the New River, and it was kind of an annual trip I did with a bunch of guys. And we've been doing that, probably 13 or 14 years now. And I know like any fishery, the New goes through highs and lows, but the New River represents so much to me as far as just being on the water. But the cool thing about the New River is it's got the potential for any cast to be the largest fish of whatever species it is that you've ever seen. It's an old river. It's got amazing genetics in it. It gets a lot of pressure, and unfortunately not as much conservation as a lot of us would like to see. But it's got some things going on. I've got my personal best longest smallmouths come out of there. One of the largest largemouth I've ever caught come out of there. I've caught some really good muskie, not fishing for them. I rarely catch muskie when I target them, but they like my bass baits. And it's just the scenery, man. It's beautiful. It's built for a kayak angler. And it's a special spot for me. But Lake St. Clair, I've been going up there with my buddy Jay Wallen, and his dad and a couple of his dad's friends for years. I actually just got one of those Facebook Messenger or, memories pop up. And my very first kayak trip to Lake St. Clair was 7 years ago today. Still the best trip up there I've ever had. And caught my two largest smallmouth, weight wise, in the same day up there. And it was, it's a special fishery now. It can turn rough and be dangerous for the biggest boat out there in a hurry. And that's not a lake. Neither of those body of waters are places that you should go to without doing some research, without reaching out to people that have been. You need to be aware of things to be safe up there, and understand what's legal as far as launches and where your boat's allowed to be. But if you're in the right place, the right time, it can be truly some of the most special fishing you've ever experienced in your life.
Oh, wow.
And I think you guys can both see the common denominator between both those spots, smallmouth. So,
yeah.
Smallmouth are just truly my passion to chase. And I like to be on bodies of water that allow me to find big ones. And every once in a while I run into one.
I love smallmouth. I mean, I'll go to Smith Mountain and drop shot for some largemouth, and every once in a while you'll get lucky and you'll catch a nice smallmouth up there. But for me, targeting smallmouth on Smith is not easy for me. But I love fishing the James River. I got certain spots at certain times of the years that when the water is not raging like it is right now, that is just phenomenal. I mean, you see Chase Tanner, he's a big smallmouth fisher, and he catches some really nice smallmouth. But yeah, it is definitely a fun fish to catch, and they're so. I mean, even down to the little one, they're so aggressive. They're so mean. And what they're
mad at you. They're mad at you from the start.
Yeah,
that's what I love about them.
That's what I always say. Like if I'm throwing a wop plopper and he hit it, and I'm like, man, that dude hit that thing like he was just totally pissed off. Like he hates that thing, And it's just crazy when they hit certain baits like that. But before we go, I got some questions about what you were just talking about for a second for fishing up north. But Chris, did you say we had some question?
We got two questions. Josh was wanting to know have they determined when their next live event will be? For the Hobie.
For the Hobie Open Series.
So just to clear that up, and I've got this weekend. The warm weather, everybody's been kind of looking ahead, and so I've got a few messages to get to, and we have an announcement coming out early next week, but we're going to wait till May 15th to announce the Kentucky Lake. Yes or no. And as of now, we're planning on it, but that means that the state has to say yes to us coming. And right now, they're not really allowing that type of event happen. So hopefully by mid-June, we'll be ready to roll. Kentucky Lake is where the Bass Open Series started, and it would just be heartbreaking to not have that. But we would understand if that was the call. Did talk to Wisconsin, which is our next event after that, lacrosse. We're still looking real good for that in early July. That bite should be getting really good. There should be some awesome frog fishing and just a really unique fishery on the upper Mississippi River up there in lacrosse. So, I mean, we haven't canceled any other events except for Erie. And as soon as we get the word on any other location, we will put the word out. We're going to try to do that a full month before each event, because let's face it. I mean, we're all got a plan, we got a book, we got to make those arrangements, and everything's kind of on hold right now. And so a month kind of, for the most part, gives us all the best chance to evaluate the situation while also giving people enough time to plan to be there.
I got you. Yeah, most definitely. And what's the other question, Chris?
Scott Butcher wants to know what lesson from the old school days of working with Juicy J do you still feel that you carry with you today?
Oh, Scott. Did you get that?
Yeah, yeah, Jay, Juicy Jay Wallen, he also made a sacrifice like 5 years ago and stepped onto the director board of the Bluegrass Kayak Anglers. And him and I worked through with like 4 or 5 other guys for the better part of the last 4 years of that club existing as it did. And the last year it was really just the 2 of us and one of our good friends, Alan, who wasn't able to fish or attend anymore and stayed at home judging fish for all 6 of our events, our final season. So Jay's been a huge asset in the local scene in Kentucky, and was a lot of fun to kind of ride that. And I think we've even been talking a little bit about doing some unique things with that club again to just kind of fill some voids and some niche opportunities in the Kentucky fishing scene to keep BKA alive, and to give us something to do to just keep that momentum rolling, man. I mean, last year was a weird year in Kentucky kayak fishing, and I know no one liked it. None of our previous members liked it, and Jay and I didn't like it. And, it was one of the things that I kind of had to sacrifice to take on the national level is running my local club. And unfortunately, we just didn't have anybody else that was able to step on at that time. But in the meantime, there's been a couple other clubs pop up, and they've had great attendance already this year and have an awesome schedule. And hopefully I can get back and fish one of their events because Kentucky's coming back up on the kayak scene.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question, Scott. I just laugh. Juicy J. It's just funny to me. I don't know. Every time I hear, I've heard other people say that, and it just catches me. I don't know why I think it's funny, but
it just rolls off the tongue. Good.
Yeah, it does.
You can't help it.
It just caught me off guard, But
yeah, Scott's good at catching you off guard.
He does.
Throw you a curveball.
I always enjoy talking with Scott. I enjoy watching Scott Butcher shows. He does a really good job great interviews and gets some the juice out of some of these guys. He does really good. He does his homework. I give him that. He does some good homework on some of these guys when he goes and does an interview with them. So, but no, talking about going up north and fishing for smallmouth, because I've never had the opportunity to do that. It's always been a bucket list for me to go. Like some of the Great Lakes, Lake St. Clair, all them lakes. And when it goes to smallmouth fishing, is there a point in time where you get up here? I've talked to guys at tackle shops, Ben. It's like, man, it's just like everywhere you throw, there's smallmouth. I mean, is it really that great when you go up there? Like you can catch that many fish?
Absolutely. It is that. It's being there at the right time is the deal. And that's why the spring is really something special up there, because a lot of those fish come shallow. When you're kayak fishing, especially on a big body of water like Lake St. Clair, you can be fairly limited to how far out you can go. And so when the fish come to you, it makes it even better. And they come in just unreal numbers, man. It's really something special. And the cool thing about that is it's not like, like when I'm river fishing, you'll catch an 8-incher on this cast and an 18-incher on that cast. But it seems like up there, you have a certain size that all of the fish are, especially at times. Like they might be a wolf pack of fish that come through an area or just inhabiting that area, and they're all 18 inches. like all of them, every single one. And then occasionally you'll pick up one even bigger. And it can be truly that special. Now, you're not alone up there ever, because it's that good of a fishery. You're literally in a pack of 10 to 100 boats even that are all fishing this same area. And often just about everybody's catching them too. And it's wild. If you hit it right up there, it can be one of the most unreal fishing, trips of your life. And even a bad trip up there, it can still be phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to get up there so bad. I've seen somebody had a drone shot one time. I don't know if it was a kayak guy or a bass boat guy, but was on a point, and he was way up in the air, and it just looked like beds for a football field. I mean, it was just beds everywhere of smallmouth and all that. So I'm just like, man, that's a bucket list. I just want to get up north and go fishing. I've had the opportunity to fish Louisiana. I fished other lakes, in other states and all that, but I just want to get to up north so bad. I had the opportunity. I went up for a FLW Costa event, and I ended up getting signed up later. I was in, and I got up there, and then some of the boaters didn't show up. So I'm up there, and I don't have a ride now. And I drove all the way to Lake St. Clair, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, Champlain. I'm sorry, not Lake St. Clair. Champlain. And just had to turn around. Yeah.
Even further.
Yeah. Just had to get in the car and turn around and come back, and you're like, you got to be kidding me. So, but like I say, all the country up here is beautiful. Everywhere you go up north, it seems like it's just beautiful country up there. And I really, really want to take the family up there and just go do some fishing. But let's talk about, we had Kevin Van Dam on our last show, and that's what he was talking about, was how quick things change up there and fronts come through. I mean, is it easy to predict, hey, man, this is about to – and I know you got a big storm and it's getting black. Yeah, that's a little bit easier to predict. But, I mean, how fast does it change?
Well, I've been up there, and it's just it's unreal, really. Christine was up there recently, and she was out fishing with one of our friends, RJ Hoover, and man, there was not even a forecast of a certain wind direction. They were out there fishing on their spot, and then all of a sudden, and it up there, when it comes across the lake, it's an eerie feeling, and it is a weird deal. You're out there, and like you get used to the way the wind's blowing, because when you're fishing a lake like that, you really fish, you kind of have to fish with the wind for the most part, but you drift fish. So you start in one area, you let the wind or the current take you to your next area, and you fish along the way. So you really get programmed into that direction. And when the wind changes, it affects your lines. It affects being in the right area. So, but what happened, and it happened up there last year for the KBF event too, but it just kind of gets like eerie calm for a second. There's no wind, and then all of a sudden you hear it, and then you can see it, and there's like a wall of water or wind coming. Everything's just kind of different on the horizon, and when it hits you, that's when you know what kind of storm you're going to have. If it's just kind of like a little punch in the face, you're like, all right, I can endure some more punches in the face right here. That's not too bad. But if it knocks you kind of like off your feet in the face, it's going to keep doing that. It's just getting started, and it might even get worse. And she had the wherewithal, her and RJ, they got back to the ramp. But there was actually two other people that were out there fishing a different section that didn't have that happen, and they actually had to get rescued. I think one of the guys lost his kayak, and there were two guys in a kayak, and they got rescued by the Coast Guard because it could just happen. No warning. No forecast, wasn't even in the weather. I've been up there at times where like an electrical storm came in, but you didn't know it because like there wasn't like thundering in the distance. It was just kind of cloudy. And I mean, we all kind of like cloudy days, especially when you're fishing super clear water, that can really get some things fired up. Throw a spinnerbait out and your line is like parallel to the water. Like your spinnerbait is in the water, but your line is parallel all the way across. It's just like humming. And that's a weird deal right there. Now if you're feeling that, you need to evaluate some things. So, and that can happen anywhere, especially out here fishing in the mountains too. I mean, you don't know that on the other side of that mountain, a nasty storm's about to come through. And I've been on the New River, and that's happened to me a few times as well. Because you come around this bend, or it comes around the mountain, and it's just on you. But up there, the from what it was to what it could be, seems like that margin is greater. I've been up there in July when a northern, like it was like the weekend after 4th of July, and I mean it was cold, like wind chills in like the low 40s. And I mean, if you're fishing in the 80s 2 days before, shorts, t-shirt, getting some sun, enjoying yourself, and it's doing that, you're probably not dressed for that, or even have the right stuff up there. And it just, the margin of crap weather that you can have up there is large. So be prepared. Take your cold weather gear, your wet weather gear, and just be paying attention to that stuff, and know where other ramps are if you can't get back to your own. Just be aware. It goes back to doing some research on new fisheries. Take safety into account, because that place is no joke at all.
For sure. Yeah, I've heard some crazy stories about that lake up there, and I, like I say, I've always wanted to go, but I've always too, I'm like, man, I want to make sure I got a week to go up there and do it, because you don't know if you'll get 2 or 3 days of just crap weather, so I want to make sure I got planned time so I can enjoy the time up there if I don't get to fish every day. So, but let's kind of shift gears a little bit, and let's kind of talk about technique wise. We always try to teach somebody something when it comes to techniques, and do like an in-depth segment. But right now, I'm going to say May's kind of weird for, at least here in Virginia, because, 1 minute it's like 80 degrees, and then we're looking, it's going to be highs of the 50s in that couple of days. And it's kind of like that in certain parts of other than just Virginia too, other parts of the country. But at this time of the year, where we're kind of in that post-spawn deal, what is your favorite way to start chasing fish now? I mean, are you still looking for on beds, or are you kind of chasing that post-spawn deal right now, with that perch bluegill, that perch spawn that's about to happen?
Yeah, so, I'm always in a different place this time of year every year. So it really makes it challenging to, be in a specific spot when the specific things are going on. But as a general rule, unless I'm like on St. Clair fishing beds in less than 5 foot of water where you can like see them, bed fishing is not my forte. I do not have the fish eye by any means. People are like, "Oh, look at that fish," and I'm like, I don't even see the bed. Like I don't even see what you're looking at. I don't know what that is. I just don't see very well into the water, no matter what polarization I've got, what glasses I'm using. I don't have that. Now I can see some fish, but it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So I really either like to hit them coming or going. Finding those areas where those fish are either about to move up, or they're I prefer when they're pulled out eating after the spawn. And one of my favorite places to do that is Dale Hollow. And I'm targeting specifically the smallmouth post spawn, and where they're going to spawn, those areas. So where are they going immediately after? And I target those areas. And that's one of my favorite ways to fish is post spawn. Fish are hungry, they're aggressive, they're pretty predictable as far as where they're going to be, because they're not going to be far from where they just were. Mm-hmm. So post spawn is kind of like what I like to do. But if it's early, before that, and fish just really haven't, like I said, I'll target the comers or the goers. But those spawning fish, man, like they just present a challenge for me that I just it's not necessarily my skill set normally. It's something I struggle with for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're tournament fishing, it's kind of a risky move anyways when you're going for bedding fish, especially, when you got so many more people in that tournament. But I've always been more consistent, I guess. I mean, I love bed fishing. I really do. When it's that time, I like doing it. But especially in the kayaking side, it is fun because, like I say, you're putting fish right back, to that spot when you're doing these kayak events. But like I say, the post spawn, it's always been kind of a struggle for me because I either nail it or I go to the end that post spawn funk and I can't figure it out, So, but what is your go-to bait when you're chasing these fish and they're in post spawn time?
So, on Dale Hollow, super clear water. I like to, and I used to do this on another lake similar to Dale Hollow, Lake Cumberland. So these Highland Reservoir, clear, lots of points, deep water. If you're fishing areas like this is a tactic that has been very consistent for me. People have heard about long lining like crankbaits. That's a pretty common technique for I guess middle of the summer deep bass. I kind of long line a finesse swim bait, 3 to 4 inch, light jig head, spinning tackle, get as much line out, run lines on points where those fish are kind of schooled up on, and I keep that bait as deep as I can, and just slow roll it back to the boat. And that's one of my favorite ways to hit, post spawn smallmouth on like Highland reservoirs. It's been a consistent bite for me for a long time. It can run from late April all the way to early June, depending on how the water temperatures go, and it produces some awesome strikes, some good deep water battles, and some amazing jumps when those fish come up from anywhere from 20 to 10 feet where they choked that swim bait. I normally like to use like a revenge head style. I mean, super clear water. So, having a good, detailed painted head is important. A good hook on that. And then the Kitex, I'll use, like a 3.3, a 3.8, one of the fatter ones with the ribs, but I also that's my favorite time of year to throw the really skinny one, the Easy Shiner at 4 inch. That's a awesome bait, light line, set your drag and have a ball.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, when you're for people that don't know what long lining is, it's for when people do it with crankbaits, they cast out and then they open the bail up and they go out as far as they can go, and then they start cranking it because it gets that bait down really, really deep into zones that you're just not going to hit when you cast. When you're doing it with swim baits, how far are you normally long lining? How far do you go out before you say, all right, I'm going to click it and start reeling in?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the size of the point that I'm on, and it's definitely not. I'm not going to my backing material by any means on my spinning reel, but it could be. I mean, it's definitely longer than a cast, but the more important thing for me than the actual distance or amount of line that's out is that I'm keeping the bait in a certain area as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when you cast and retrieve, it's it kind of like comes down and comes right back up. I want it to be down as long as possible before it comes back up. So that's really what I'm trying to do. And every point that I'm fishing is going to be a little bit different as far as how much line I need to do that. So a lot of times I'll cast, I'll throw the Mirage drive in reverse, go to the tip of that point, re-engage my bail, and then it's slow rolling that thing all the way back.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. Now, when you got that amount of line out there, and for certain like Carolina rigging, when you make that long cast out there, the further the cast, the harder the hook set. Is that something you're kind of like in a drop shot mode where you're light drag, you're just letting the fish set the hook, you just kind of pull into it, or most time when they hit it, it's so aggressive they set the hook themselves?
A lot of times it's important, so for me, I want to get that hook set. So I often will start my drag a little tighter for that kind of the full setup is important for me for this very specific technique. I throw a 7-foot fast or medium action, medium power, fast action. And, I really want that rod to kind of have a chance to load up a little bit before I set, get into the meat of that rod and the backbone and get that hook set. And I really want to, because there's a lot of times there's so much line out, I have it a little tighter on the hook set, and then I'll loosen it up immediately once I know, I've got a good hook in that fish, because those runs with those smallmouth can just be insane. But sometimes, you've got a ton of line out. Now I'm rolling braid main line, but often, depending on the clarity of the water, spring, a lot of times the water's not super crazy clear. If you've had any sort of rain, there's a little bit of sedimentation in there. So, I'll go up to 10-pound line, but a lot of times, you're using 8-pound fluorocarbon when I'm doing this. And so, having that right amount of drag is really important. But I do start out a little tighter and then loosen it up during the fight. But I really think that fast action, that little bit of a softer tip, is extremely important for really any moving bait. In my opinion, I mean, if you're throwing moving baits on extra fast actions, a lot of times, when you give them the hook set, like you're going to jerk it right away from. You really want them to get it in their mouth a little bit more. And so I use that type of rod when I'm throwing, even small swim baits.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's, we've had some good in-depth segments, but that right there is totally different. We haven't discussed long line, and we haven't discussed definitely the whole swim bait side of long line, and I've never really thought about that. So that's some good info right there on just, like say on your clear waters, your pressured waters, that you just do something a little bit different, and get that bait down there, keep it down there longer. So thanks, AJ, for that in-depth segment. I wanted to just cover one more thing. It's real quick. And that's kind of getting into the whole live side of the fishing right now. I mean, what is your thoughts on that? Do you think this is like, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's, you're trying to get in that MLF side of things. What is your thoughts on how that's being done? And I don't want to talk about how it's, being run or nothing, but I mean, do you see this growing into a bigger deal after coronavirus? I mean, do you think this live thing is going to be exploding more and more people getting involved with it?
Well, first off, you got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, we've had some people out there that have made it happen. Scott really ran with it, and anytime something's brand new, there's going to be some speed bumps. There's going to be some learning experiences. So, credit there, and I'm sure he's going to continue to try to grow and improve that option, and it's just another option for kayak anglers. Now, as far as the viewership and like what that looks like once people are really getting out of their house again, hopefully there is sustained audience, and because I know that's an important part of that whole deal, and that's what anglers are looking for and sponsors are looking for, and why this thing was so successful right now, because of the demand for some sort of competitive fishing, the demand for competition, viewership. I mean, we all had our hearts broken that March Madness went away, and we don't even know when the next competitive sporting event's going to be that we get to watch as sports fans. I'm a big sports fan. And so, having the chance to watch, anglers compete has been really cool. BASS has been, hopping in the boat with some of their professional anglers and showcasing them, and MLF's been doing some cool stuff. And, everybody's thinking outside the box right now to put their anglers on a pedestal, get them out there, get people still excited about the sport. And it's been really cool. Now, what happens after this is it's hard to speculate. I think that there will always be people that if they're not out on the water or fishing a tournament or doing something, they're going to want to tune in to watch somebody else fish. I mean, it's like, for some people it was Saturday morning cartoons. For a lot of other people, you're watching Bill Dance and Hank Parker and all these other shows. on Saturday morning as you're growing up, or, because that's what you looked forward to doing. You wanted to watch other people fish because you weren't out there doing it, and you were able to learn from people you respected. And so there's not anything different here. If you're not able to be on the water, you have a chance to have a lot of fun watching somebody fish and maybe learn a thing or two. So it's been a really cool component, and I know that Scott's going to work hard to keep it growing and make it even cooler in the future. And it'll be interesting to see what it turns into and where it goes. I've tried to watch a few of them. I've actually got to watch 2 full episodes and part of one. But some of the others, I was fishing a New River tournament with Timmy Dixon out there at New River Outdoor Adventures, and then I was on the water this past Saturday as well. So it's hard. A lot of times you don't even have service when you're on the water anyway, so it's hard to kind of keep up with that. And it's time to enjoy your time on the water as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I think it's a great addition to our sport. And it's just unique. It's just different. It tests the boundaries of what competition is perceived as, and puts those anglers in your on your couch, and it's a really cool thing. It's giving our anglers another opportunity to make money and showcase themselves and their brands. So it's a cool thing. And the guys over doing the bracket challenge, man, that thing's fun to watch. That's a really cool thing. And they just came out with it, and they've grown it, and they've got some people involved that are really connecting the whole country. And they worked hard in a short amount of time to really fill another void. And just so much respect for the people that are out there still trying to figure out ways to keep this thing rolling. For some of us, our hands were a little tied on what we could do. I like every week I was going to my board and I was like, hey, let's try this, let's try that. And it just didn't fit our abilities in this time. And so it's really awesome that other entities are out there, just changing the whole dynamic of our sport. And it's just exciting to see where this thing's going to go. I mean, there could be a bracket challenge, potentially, 4 times a year or more. Like, it could be something that really is sustained in our sport and that people get excited about. And the 5 Live deal could do the same thing. It could be, 2, seasons within a year, and, 2 different groups, there's just no telling. So, it's exciting. I mean, anytime our anglers are getting more opportunities to fish in front of people, fish for money, fish for more money, that's really it's hard not to be excited for that, because, we're all on this point. We all want to see this thing grow, and there's people out there that are, working their tails off to help it along.
Yeah. And that's what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. Scott and him have done one heck of a job on growing that on a short, I'm going to say like a short notice. Like, it was, that was something that was put together quick from my understanding. You know what I mean? Just kind of, all this hit, and, I don't know if it was in the works before this hit. I don't know. But if it wasn't, and they just put together, that was awesome. Like, just the way you can put it. I mean, it's a lot of work to get that together. And they actually got a Facebook page now, I think it's called 5 Live Fishing. So make sure you go in there and check that out. And like I say, the guys from Paddle and Fin have been doing their little like the bracket stuff, and it's so many different avenues out there now to watch and to see all this go down. Now, AJ, my question for you is I'd like to see like you and Christina do something live like that. I mean, say Scott called you up and said, hey, I want you and Christina on. Would you go on there and compete together? I think it would be so awesome to watch you guys compete together.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. There's a lot of factors there, scheduling and where we both are and all that. We have got to fish together more this spring than we have in a while, so that's been really enjoyable. But anybody knows Christine knows that she's ultra competitive, so it could be fun. Yeah, it could be fun. It just, I think it would depend on the format and the overall just goal of whatever we're doing, and maybe it would happen, but she deserves a platform on her own as well. I mean, she could compete with anybody out there. She's beat the brakes off of me and just about everybody else in the sport plenty of times. So it'd be fun to see her get to compete in one of the traditional ones and see what she would be capable of doing as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, if when they was asking about people they would love to see on there, and her name came up a lot, and I would. I mean, we've had her on the show, I think twice now, and she's definitely a phenomenal angler, and like I say, she knows how to catch them. She ain't no slouch by no means whatsoever. When I'm watching the Hobie Open or a lot of the other events, I'm scrolling through looking at all the people or you follow, and her name's always up there. She always manages, to find something. Even if she has a bad day, she can kind of turn it around and make something of it, So, but yeah, last year she had a phenomenal year, and it was awesome to watch. And I know it was she was such a role model, for other females getting into it and younger girls, looking into it, And I always show my daughter pictures of the fish she catches, and my daughter loves fishing, so. I just love everything she's done, and she alone helps grow this sport to get more involved and more females involved and all that. This ain't just a man's sport by no means. I know just some of our club events we had around Smith, and there's a woman there, Mary Croft. I mean, that woman could fish and beat the brakes off anybody up there. So it's awesome to see women getting involved into the fishing side, and especially the tournament side, though. That's what I like to see and do really well at it. So. But AJ, I ain't gonna keep you a whole lot longer, man. I know we've been talking for a while. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here, and look forward to seeing the future of the Hobie Open Series, and also hopefully you guys can get back on the water and start, getting the tournament series back rolling again.
Man, I appreciate the time. It's with these 2 months off, it feels like I haven't really had a chance to promote our platform or talk much about, what we're doing and building. And, everybody's kind of in this wait and see period. And it's definitely challenging, like we talked about earlier, for all the directors out there. So hopefully, we can get this thing back on the road again, our second full season. I mean, we have a lot of big things planned. We have some great custom color Hobie PA14 360s and Outbacks that are going to go to our Angler of the Year, and just a random person this year. And, just a lot of really good stuff going on with our series, and our numbers were awesome to start the year. And we had a lot of great venues lined up. So hopefully we're going there. Can't wait to see everybody at these events. Even if it's like just virtually, we're going to figure out how we can do this thing so we can all get back on the water and fish competitively again as soon as possible. So thank you guys for doing what you do, and appreciate the time today. It was a lot of fun chatting with you guys.
All right, man. I really appreciate it. And good luck this year on everything going. And like I say, hopefully you're back on the water here soon, bud. But we'll talk to you later, man, and have a good night.
All right, man. You guys do the same. Y'all stay safe out there.
You too, buddy. Thank you. All right. That was a good interview. And we've talked with Chad Hoover. We've talked with the guys from Bass. And I always wanted to get AJ on, but I know he's busy. And then it was like you're trying to get the winners for the Open Series and the KBF. And it's so hard to work some of these interviews in with some of these guys. But, it was great just to sit back and talk with them. I've seen him on other podcasts and watch some of his YouTube, some of the other YouTube videos from other people who's done interviews with him. So it was great to have him on. So right now I want to thank everybody for tuning in so far. We're going to be doing the RBT custom crankbait giveaway here shortly. But like I say, I just want to stress one more time, and I'm going to do this on every show, especially the month of May here. And it's going to be kind of a big deal on our social media platforms as well, and maybe a couple YouTube videos. But is this water safety? Now is the time. Everybody's getting on the water. The water's warming up. People are, buying a bunch of kayaks or just, getting their families out, taking their kids fishing. But we're also at that time, too, where, safety is very important. Safety is a big part when going out on the water and always having a life vest on. The reason why, I keep seeing all these stories with, search and rescues and people going missing, or, a father and son, passing away because they just didn't have a life vest on. And it breaks my heart because I know it's something so simple, so easy to put on, but people are like, it's uncomfortable. I don't want to wear it, or it's too hot. if you spend the money and you get the right life vest, it's not a problem at all. And to be honest with you, you really get used to it, you know. So, you know, I can't urge it enough is to, you know, make sure safety first before you even step foot in that boat and push off from the shore is safety first. Also, when, you know, just if you're fishing on the bank, you got your kids with you, especially, you know, it's always good. I don't care how good they swim. Make sure they got a life vest on. I know my daughter, I like when we're out bank fishing, boat fishing, whatever, she's always got a life vest. My son's the same way. He's getting a little bit older now. I mean, both of them can swim really well, but by law, really, in a boat, they're supposed to have a life vest on, by law, at least in the state of Virginia. But even though they're great swimmers, both of them swim good. We got a swimming pool, and they swim really well. But you just never know the what ifs. If you hit something underwater, you get whatever, you know. So, anyways, I just want to stress that again, please, guys. Water safety. Always put your life vest on before you push off from the bank. But, anyways, Chris, we had right many people in there conversating and all that. It didn't seem like we had a lot of questions coming through, but I guess, you know, AJ was answering a lot of them if they were coming through. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, but I want to go ahead and pick a winner. Chris, I want you to,
one.
You got your random winner?
Got one, yep.
Who we got, Chris? Who's the random winner of the RBT Custom Crankbait Square Bills?
We got Craig Dye.
Craig Dye.
Are you still with us, Craig?
If you're not, I'll reach out to you, and Ron will send you. We'll get all the information to Ron, and you will get the custom RBT Custom Crankbaits. So, Ron, I want to thank you with RBT Custom Crankbaits for helping us out with these giveaways. It's been great, man, to be able to give away some crankbaits on the show. I'm looking at trying to put together a bigger prize pack for next week, just to have a few more odd and end things, along with RBT Custom Crankbaits and all that. So, but was he still on there, Chris? We still
I haven't seen him.
Okay. Well, we'll reach out to him after the show, and or if any of you guys are friends with him, go ahead and message him, let him know he won, so we can get the information to Ron. So, but other than that, you know, the one thing I did want to touch base on before I let everybody go was he's still keeping Aaron Martins and Shaw Grigsby in your prayers. They're both fighting with cancer, and I know Shaw had a good update on his Facebook page the other day of where they think he might not have to go do no chemo or nothing like that, that they got things taken care of. I know Aaron Martins is getting ready to have to go in and do some chemo radiation to help fight that. So just keep him guys in your prayers. And, you know, I hate to say that, you know, everything's blessed because a lot of people have passed away from corona. A lot of people got sick. A lot of people lost jobs. But you look at some of these things, if this wouldn't have happened, some of these things wouldn't have been able to get taken care of. You know, Aaron could have been out on the water. He was out on the water, but in a tournament, you know, and that happening, or, you know, some of these anglers are getting things taken care of healthy-wise, family-wise during this time. And it's also great for some of these other people, too, that, you know, it's more time spent with family right now. Like I say, we talked about Smith Mountain Lake being so busy, and it's just great to be able to see more and more people out there enjoying time with their family and getting away from, you know, regular life and just get there enjoying life right now. It's giving everybody the opportunity to slow down a little bit. My pastor was talking about that the other day, and he was talking about how this is an opportunity for people to slow down. You know, life is so fast. It's giving people the opportunity to slow down and get out on the water or spend time with family or whatever you need to do. So, like I say, it's not a blessing. This isn't a blessing. I won't say that COVID-19 is a blessing, but, you know, you just kind of got to look at it like, you know, things happen for a reason. So, but other than that, guys, I don't really have a whole lot more to touch base on right now. If you could just go check out our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. We got some great videos that are about to come out. We already got some videos that's up. Make sure you share those with your friends. If you know, hit the thumbs up button. That really helps out a lot too. Just trying to get our videos out there. So, this show should be up tomorrow on iTunes and Stitcher. And then it's a couple other, what was the other platform? I think we got it on Google Play now. It was some issues there for a while on Google Play, so I'm not sure if it's all straight and taken care of. But also, we've been taking these shows and putting them up on our YouTube as well, and then I'll put them up on our website. Also, if you haven't checked out our website, oneobjectivebf.com, we went through, changed some things up, made it a little bit easier for people to kind of search around through our products. We got a few more products that's going to be coming out here shortly. So, guys, stay tuned for that. We've had a lot of... Go ahead.
Chris Cable says 21, 25, and 20 this week. Good week.
What's it? Oh, fish he caught?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Heck yeah, man. Congratulations on that. Yeah, that's a good week. I wished I had got into the month long this month, but I know I didn't have a lot of time. I think next month I'm going to be trying to get a month long in. I'm trying to get Chris in a month long, so we'll see. But the night bite's really firing up at Smith, so we need to get on up there. But other than that, guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Please share this video or this show on your Facebook page. Also you can tag us if you catch some nice fish. Tag us in it. One Objective BF. Or you can share them to us in Messenger. We can share them on our Instagram for you and our Facebook and all that. So, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I want to thank everybody that has shared the show, that joined in on the show. I really appreciate it. I want to thank RBT Custom Crankbaits for helping with the giveaway. Guys, we'll talk to you later. Y'all have a great night. Stay safe.
See you.